I'm going to start with you, Mr. Gonzalez, because there are certain things that are not disputed in this case. Your body slammed in to the plaintiff's parked car.
That's correct.
Okie dokie. That's an interesting defense. I mean, it's some sort of a defense. It doesn't fly here as a defense, but it's a defense.
Jazlyn Crockham claims her neighbor, Dominic Costales, owes for car damages. Dominic says he fell and hit her car, but only because it was illegally parked.
She wasn't in the car at the time.
That's correct.
When your body slammed into her car, it created a dent in the car,
That is correct.
causing damage to the car. That's why the plaintiff is here.
That's correct.
This happened on what date?
August 21st, 2020.
2020.
Correct.
Do you have a photograph of the damage to the car?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Oh, that's a bad dent. What year car is this?
2013,
What kind?
Dodge Challenger.
Have you had it for long?
About 4 years.
You still have it?
Yes.
You were in a complex where you live.
Yes.
And according to what I read, you were in the pool area?
Correct.
Anybody with you?
My children and a few other tenants.
What time of the day?
Around 4:30.
And what were you doing in the complex?
I'm a groundskeeper and manager of the complex.
What were you doing at 4:30?
I opened my door and I was dog watching.
You opened the door
Yeah.
of your own apartment.
Yes, ma'am. And the puppy got out. At the time of the puppy got out, and
Whose puppy?
my mom's.
Does your mother live with you?
No, she does not.
So you were puppy sitting?
Puppy sitting.
For how long?
Just for 2 days.
Where was your mother?
She was in Nevada, Las Vegas.
How old is the puppy?
She was at the time about 4 months, 3 months.
Well, there's a difference between two
About
and
4 months.
What kind of dog?
Siberian Husky.
So a big puppy.
Yeah, medium size, yeah.
Puppy got out and you were chasing the puppy
Yeah,
all around the complex.
kind of, yeah. Pretty fast.
And it was at that time that you slammed into the plaintiff's car.
Yes.
And now I'm going to ask you to tell me why you think that you're not responsible for this damage. I've read it, but I want you to tell me.
Okay, well, where she was parked at the time is a fire lane where you're not supposed to park at. And there's been photographs of her been tagged not to park there. And when I went to chase the puppy, I slipped on the gravel and the rocks next to the car. And that's when my body went into the car accidentally and damaged it. I don't dispute that I did not do that. I did that part. But the part is the fact that where she was parked at, if her car wasn't there in the first place, it would have never happened.
That's what I read as your defense. So your defense was the car was parked in the wrong place, and if it had not been parked there, you would have slipped and fallen, but you would have fallen on the ground instead.
Yes,
And not damaged her car.
absolutely right.
Okie dokie. That's an interesting defense. I mean, it's some sort of a defense. It doesn't fly here as a defense, but it's a defense. The proximate cause of her car becoming damaged was your body falling into it. And the proximate cause of your body falling into her car was because you negligently let the puppy out of the apartment. That was the reason. You know, if the puppy ran out into the street and ran in front of a car, and the car swerved and hit a child who was crossing in the middle of the street, you would say, that's not my fault because the child was crossing in the middle of the street. If the child wasn't crossing in the middle of the street, he wouldn't gotten hurt. You negligently let the dog out. It was what we call an accident. It wasn't an on purpose, but it was your fault. More than her fault. It was your fault. If you hadn't let the dog out, and if her car was parked in the fire lane, she could have gotten a ticket. She could have gotten towed, but she wouldn't have had a dent in her car. Now, can I see an estimate for the damage, please? Did you try to discuss with the defendant paying for the damage?
Yes, I did.
And what happened?
He admitted to damaging the car, and he said he would pay for the damages.
He did.
Yes.
Did you ever tell her you would pay for the damages?
Well, first of all, she didn't approach me with the estimate of her car. Her boyfriend at the time, or her husband at the time, or still the time, came to my door an estimate of $500, and from what I'm hearing now, it's $2,500. So I don't know how that jumped up to that.
I don't know either. Was the original estimate that you had $500?
Yes. It was originally $500 because that was just like a quick look at it.
Whose quick look at it?
The first estimate that we obtained.
Well, if you got a first estimate of $500, why don't I have that?
Because that shop is not open anymore.
There's a big difference between $500 and what you're suing him for, which is $2,500. Would you look up the value of a 2013, what kind of car?
Dodge Challenger.
Dodge Challenger. You have a full view of the car? Rather than just this what you're showing me?
No, I don't have that printed out.
So based upon a 100,000 mile estimate, it's 10,000 to 13,000.
Did you have it fixed? When we hesitate, we have a problem. Do you understand? Did you have it fixed?
No.
Why?
I didn't want my insurance company to pay for it because I didn't want my premiums and monthly costs to go up.
Well, that's a problem. Do you have a deductible?
Yes,
How much is your deductible?
$1,000.
That's what you have insurance for. And the accident was not your fault. Your premium shouldn't go up at all. You better be able to get the car fixed for $1,000 because that's all you're getting from the defendant. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Court is adjourned.
I'm satisfied I'll get something out of it.
I actually don't remember. It's like a football catch or tackling somebody. It's pretty tough.
Time to get my car fixed.
My shoulder hit that, and I got a big bruise on it after that.
Another case where my father's saying comes in perfectly. Is it more your fault than my fault? Because if so, you take responsibility and accountability, even in an accident, even in something that, like you said, not on purpose, but accidents happen. You have to be responsible for that.
That's why they call it an accident, not an on purpose.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
How long have you known Mr. Maine?
I met him in 2019.
When did you start to date?
Oh gosh, it had to have been August of 2019.
In August of 2019, who were you living with?
My mother.
And the dates actually become important because this sounded like a love affair that was volatile, but there was a lot of fighting and forgiving. And I have to see whether the fighting part is something that courts get involved with when I have a feeling in between a lot of the fighting was a lot of forgiving. Where were you living, Mr. Maine, in August of 2019?
I was living in Paso Robles with my now ex-wife shortly after I moved into my father's.
Okay, so from the house that you shared with your now ex-wife, you moved in with your father.
Yeah, shortly afterwards, yeah.
And when did you move in with your father?
Probably later in August.
Did meeting the plaintiff have anything to do with precipitating your divorce?
Probably.
Okay, that's fair. Did there come a time in August or sometime thereafter when you moved into Miss Bourbon's mother's house?
Right.
When was that?
October, November?
Did you pay any rent?
No, ma'am.
And you shared her room?
Yes, ma'am.
You stayed there from when to when?
November to maybe June, July, something like that.
A long time.
Yeah.
Did you have any problems when you were living in her mother's house?
No, not until the very last week or so.
Why don't you tell me what happened the very last week or so in June? That's part of the complaint.
Me and Julie were arguing, and I think her mother kind of caught wind of that and didn't really like that, and so she kicked us out, I guess you could say.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When Miss Bourbon's mother asked you to leave, you moved in with your father.
Yes.
And you moved in with him, with his father.
For a short time, yes, ma'am.
That was in June of 2021.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So then let's deal with this incident quickly that happened in April. which is before June, while you were living at your mother's house. Don't look at your document. Look here. If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. Not that I'm particularly interested in what happened in April, because then we had a subsequent May and June and July. Why don't you tell me what happened? Quickly.
Me and Jacob were arguing, and I locked the doors, and we went outside because I didn't want to argue inside. So I realized I had locked myself out without the key. So I went and I climbed through my bedroom window to get access to the house. And as I was closing the window, he slammed it back open and it shattered.
Had the situation resolved?
No, it hadn't.
Well, what were you going inside for?
To unlock the door, the front door, to get back in.
To let you both back in.
Right.
So the situation had somehow resolved because you went outside so that your mother wouldn't hear you yelling.
Yes.
Am I getting this right? You know, you keep saying yes, but am I getting this right?
Yes.
I'm trying to create a visual for myself. Now, how did the window break, sir?
She slammed it closed, and I put my hand out to kind of brace for it, and it really just bounced off my hand and went to the other side of the windowsill and broke on the other side of the windowsill.
Is that what was happening?
No, I had almost closed it, and he grabbed it and he slammed it back open. I was gonna go unlock the front door to let him in.
Now, that happened on April 4th. When you were at your mother's house, did you share the same room?
Yes, we did.
Did you share the same room from April 4th, 2021 until June 22nd, 2021?
Ex-boyfriend Jacob Maine owes for a broken window, broken ignition key, and a refund of rent.
Okay, so after the April 4th incident, he left.
Correct.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Between April 4th and June 22nd, how many nights did you spend at his father's house?
Probably 5 or 6.
So I actually don't care what happened with the window. Neither do courts. It's a word called condonation. It means that if something happens and you had a big fight, and then you get together and you snuzzle together and you sort of make up, we don't go back into history. That's not what courts are for. June 22nd, Jacob informed me that his dad was moving, and did you want to move into the house?
Yes, he offered.
And it sounded like a reasonable idea to you. You were still in like with each other,
Yes, Your Honor.
still hoping to make it work. So according to what I read, your father was supposed to move out, you were supposed to move in and split the rent with him.
Correct.
And you gave him $350 in rent.
310.
Did you ever move into his father's house with him?
No, I did not.
Okay. You said there was an incident in July, on the 26th of July. Do you want to tell me what that incident was?
Sure. We were in Lemoore, California, and we were arguing. And
Where?
In my car. I had pulled over into a Best Buy parking lot because I needed to get away from him just to cool down. And when I got out, I saw him reach for my ignition, and then I got back in the car and noticed that my ignition key was broken. He didn't admit to it, but I mean, it was broken. So it cost me $414 to replace from the Mercedes dealership in Fresno. And also, since my car wasn't in a legal parking stall, it was towed.
So you pulled into a parking lot, parked in an illegal spot, key was broken out of the ignition, and the car was towed, and you want him responsible for that?
Yes, because
Okay.
I wasn't able to move my car because my ignition key was broken.
Was July 26th the last time you saw each other?
No,
When was the last time you saw each other?
about a month afterwards,
Where was that?
at his dad's house.
So you went there.
Yes, I did.
What time did you go over there?
I would say about 6 p.m.
Tell me about that visit.
He had promised to pay me for all of the things that he owed me for. And so I went to his house because I didn't have his number.
Okay. What happened, sir, when the plaintiff came to your house?
I mean, what happened with that was she pulled into the parking lot and then she got out of the car. So I reached over to turn the ignition off, and it's not like a key, it's like a chip that you put into the thing, and it broke off. So I said I would pay, for that. It was my fault. But before that, she broke into my house and then destroyed all my clothes.
Now, you've just acknowledged to me that you did break off whatever key was. Whitney, did he say it was my fault? I thought he said it was my fault, which is a good thing.
Unintentionally, but yes.
Unintentionally, but it was your fault.
Right.
Yeah, he said I would pay no for that. It was my fault.
$414. Okay. What happened a month later? You went to his house at 6 o'clock and?
I waited for about 20 minutes, and I saw him walking up, and I said, hey, do you have any money that you can pay me for the things that you broke? And he said, no, I'm not going to pay you for any of that.
And?
And so I said, well, that's not right. And then I left.
Did you go to his house and cut up some of his clothes?
No,
All of my clothes.
no, I did not.
Did you ever discuss with him the fact that his clothes were destroyed?
I did, but it was in December.
Just a second. The answer is you did.
Yes.
When did you discuss with him that his clothes were destroyed?
I don't agree that I cut up all of his clothes, but the incident that he's referencing happened in January 2021.
Tell me what happened.
I discovered that he was cheating on me, and so I went into his house. I didn't break in.
You discovered that he was cheating on you, and you were angry.
Yes.
So you went into his house.
And I cut up some of the clothes that I had bought.
Tell me what you cut up.
An Alabama shirt that I had bought him, a pair of pants that I paid for, and some underwear. That's it.
What was the discussion that you had with him with regard to replacing the value of these items?
There wasn't any discussion about it.
Well, you said there was some sort of discussion that you had about the clothes.
Yeah, well, he just accused me of cutting up all of his clothes, but we didn't agree. We didn't talk about me replacing it.
What did she cut up?
Everything.
Where did she leave it?
Right there in the middle of the floor.
On what date?
2 weeks after, maybe 2.5 weeks after she paid the $310, and then decided not to move in.
Well, that hissy fit's going to cost $310 because that's part of your lawsuit. You can't go into his house and cut up his clothes. That's a no-no. And you, sir, have already acknowledged that you owe her for the broken key. It was an accident, but your fault.
Indeed.
And I've already decided that there was condonation with regard to the window incident, which after the window incident, which I don't really understand why you would want to go out of the house to have an angry discussion when you could do it privately inside the house because your mother wasn't there. So I'm not following that whole thing. But afterwards, you made mufki pufki for a couple of months, so I don't care about the window. But the $414 you acknowledged that you owed her, the $350 you did pay for rent, you never moved in, you're still living there with your father, you can't cut up his clothes, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $414. We're finished. Goodbye. Good luck. Have a happy life.
Court is adjourned.
She stole my phone and really had nothing on it.
His phone. I saw his phone.
And then she kept arguing.
He denied it.
Could have settled it out of court, I guess.
You know, the concept of condonation was a term that was originally, I think, taught to us in the context of being married.
I think there might be some hesitation about teaching this idea in law school, just because if courts don't get involved in those minor issues while they were still cohabitating, I think they can circumvent wrongdoing and not take accountability if they say, well, we slept in the same bed after that incident happened, so courts won't even look at that. You don't want to discount the negative interactions that people have living together or not, but we can't get involved in every squabble.
It's sort of interesting because in one respect, you are saying wrongdoing is being rewarded.
As long as you're sleeping in the same room.
As long as you're sleeping in the same room. But if it were an important enough incident,
Yes.
there is some abusive behavior that is important. When you have that and you break the relationship and you pursue a remedy, I think that remedy has to be taken seriously. Mm-hmm. Common sense, that's what the law's supposed to be.
It's supposed to.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Court come to order.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 1180, Ziegler versus Simpson.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ziegler, this is what I put together from your complaint. You were looking for a place to live. You had no place to live.
Yes.
Mr. Simpson has a house, and in that house, he rents rooms. He has a lot of tenants. It's a house that you own, is that correct?
Yes.
And you've owned it for how long, sir?
30 years.
Okay. Now, he agreed to rent you a space. He didn't have a bedroom, but rented you a space, at least temporarily, the beginning of July,
Yes, July 1st.
and you lived there for approximately 4 weeks.
I got kicked out on August 6th.
So 5 weeks.
Yes.
You claim two things, that he, A, illegally evicted you, so you want a lot of money for that. And your second cause of action is that you drive a motorcycle, and that Mr. Simpson allowed one of the other tenants, someone whose name is Todd, that would be you, to drive his truck. And Todd knocked over your bike that was parked behind the truck,
Correct.
causing some damage to the bike. Now, you lived in the house for 5 weeks, and would you stand up? Your first name is Todd. What's your last name?
Todd Moberly.
Mr. Moberly, you acknowledge that you knocked over the motorcycle. The defense to that Mr. Simpson is raising is that Mr. Ziegler had parked his motorcycle behind the truck, but parked it on the sidewalk instead of parking it someplace else. And I assume you have photographs of that, Mr. Simpson. I assume you have photographs of that.
Driveway from
Did you? So I'm going to ask Mr. Ziegler. What time of the day did this happen on August 6th?
This happened late at night, probably around 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Where had you been? No, that's a question. That's not a so. Where had you been
I
prior
went to the store for 5 minutes and came back.
Just a second. You took your motorcycle. Where had your motorcycle been parked?
So the driveway would
Where had your motorcycle been parked
Behind the
before
Tahoe.
you left?
right behind the Tahoe.
Then you moved it.
I never moved the motorcycle, no.
You said this incident happened at 8:30. I want you to try to concentrate, Mr. Ziegler. I said, where were you before this incident happened at 8:30? You said, I went to the store for 5 minutes. Before you went to the store, where was the motorcycle parked?
Behind the Tahoe, on the driveway, in the driveway.
And then when you came back from the store, you parked in the same place.
I actually drove my car to the store, not my bike. And I left my bike behind the Tahoe.
Where was your car parked?
On the side of the street, since the driveway was completely full.
So your car was parked in the street, in a legal parking space.
Yes.
You left the bike where it was. You took the car from a legal parking space because the driveway was full. You went to the store for 5 minutes, 8:30, then you came back. Did you repark your car?
No, I parked it still on the side of the street where I had it before, where I always parked it.
Okay. And you went to the store to get what?
To get a Gatorade.
When you came home from getting the Gatorade, you just went to the store to get one Gatorade.
Yes, because I was
Just
on a...
you were thirsty. When you came home, what did you see?
I saw my bike on the ground and Todd trying to pick it up.
Is that what happened?
Yeah,
Did you pick the bike up?
I tried to. It's a little heavy, and so they came.
Did you pick the bike up?
Yes.
What did you do with it?
I moved it away from the back and I put it kind of in the garage, in a little space in the garage.
How did you get it there?
I picked the bike up myself and brought it into the garage. I didn't drive it or anything.
Just a second. You picked it up and you walked it into the garage.
Yes.
Just by your own curiosity, why would you park your bike behind a Tahoe if there was space in the garage?
Because I went to the store real quick and I left my...
What does that have to do with the bike? You took your car to the store. You said your bike had been parked behind the Tahoe because the driveway was full.
Yeah.
But you just said that you picked up the bike and you walked it into a space in the garage. My question to you is, if there was a space in the garage, why would you park it behind the Tahoe?
Because I was going to go for another bike ride again later in the day.
Later on in the day, it was 8:30 at night when we were going to go for another bike ride.
Well, because the cars were super close together and there's not, it's kind of hard to maneuver it around those spaces.
After you moved the bike, Mr. Ziegler, from behind the Tahoe into a space in the garage, did you call the police?
Yes, I did.
Why?
To get evidence that it happened and everything, and because that he told me that later on he first admitted that he would
No,
pay
just
for
a
it.
second. Just a second. So you had a conversation with Todd. He couldn't pick the bike up. He says it was too heavy. You picked it up and you took it into the space. Did you have a conversation with him?
Yes.
Tell me about the conversation that you had at 8:30 at night after you came home from getting a Gatorade.
So first he was telling me that, you know, he's responsible for it.
No. You said to him, what happened? You know, so far I'm not following your whole story.
Yes.
You do understand that?
Yes.
Okay. He looks like he was high as a kite on this video. And if you allowed him access to that car, you're responsible for this damage.
And later today,
When your body slammed into her car, it created a dent in the car,
That is correct.
causing damage to the car. That's why the plaintiff is here.
Alex Ziegler claims his former landlord, Randy Simpson, owes for motorcycle damages and the cost of a wrongful eviction.
So you say to him what happened. He said, I didn't see your bike behind the Tahoe because it was dark, right? Is that what he said?
Yes.
I assume that that's what he said. And you said to him, I'm still not figuring out why the police were called.
Okay, because then later on he said...
Later on when?
About 20 minutes after this happened, he said, I will not pay for the bike. And
Just a second. So now you're inside the house. You've had your Gatorade. Your bike is in the garage. Your car is parked on the street. You have another conversation with him in the house. Tell me what you were in the living room. Where were you?
so I was actually outside looking at the bike, looking at the damages, assessing how much the damages would be. And I told him how much it would be.
Well, what did you tell him it would be?
I said it would be roughly, a rough estimate would be around $1,000.
Okay, so you said it'll cost about $1,000 to fix it. And what did he say?
He said, well, you shouldn't have parked the bike behind there, so I don't owe you anything. And
Okay.
yeah, that's it. But
You shouldn't have
previously,
parked-
I let
you
him
shouldn't-
know.
Just a second.
Okay.
So you said you shouldn't have parked the bike back there. I don't owe you anything. Okay, well, that's a lawsuit.
Yes.
And you called the police. Can I see the police report that you filed?
Yes. I have a video, too, of the whole thing going down as well, if you want to see some clips on my phone.
Tell me what they're of.
Okay, they're of him admitting to hitting the bike.
He admitted he hit the bike.
Yes, and it's him admitting that I told him previously not to go anywhere and I'd be back in 5 minutes, that my bike was behind the Tahoe.
You have that on your phone?
Yes.
That I'd like to
Definitely.
see. And I'd like to see the police report, Kevin.
So it's these two, this one and this one. That's the first one. And then the police report, there.
Took place in the driveway. That's what it says, remarks. Took place in the driveway. I'd like to see.
Not much. He told me, he asked me if I was going anywhere. At the time, I didn't really think of anything I needed to go. Then he left. He said he's going to be back in 2 minutes. And I forgot he told me his bike was parked back in mine.
Got it. Okay, so the problem, Mr. Simpson, is it's your car. You got the insurance.
Yes.
He looks like he was high as a kite on this video. And if you allowed him access to that car, you're responsible for this damage.
Probably was.
You were? Well, he probably was, and you are. So you have an estimate to fix the bike?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. Have you had it fixed?
Yes, it got done with the shop a couple days ago.
Well, this is the estimate. How much was it?
That's the final. I have a text message that shows it.
Just tell me what the final invoice
It was the 1134.
Now your case is for unlawful eviction.
Yes.
After this incident, the police were called, and I want you to tell me your version of what happened with Mr. Simpson.
So after the police were called, I went inside, inside the house, going towards my room, where his room's right across the hall from mine. And so he said, Alec, come step in my room. And so I did. And he said, in my 30 years of living here, I've never had someone call the police. And he said, get out of my house, and yelled at me. And I did not feel safe. And that's when I called my buddy Jaden and let him know the incident and asked if I could spend the night at his house.
After the incident, he's going towards his room. You call him into your room.
This is the third time Mr. Ziegler's called the police to my house.
In the 5 weeks he's living there?
Yeah. And my roommates were ready to kill him.
Okay.
I have some written testimony.
No.
Yeah.
I don't read written testimony from people
Yeah,
who aren't
I
here.
understand.
Okay. Did you tell him to leave?
Yes.
And you went to stay with a friend?
Yes.
You moved in on the 1st. You were paying a couple of $100s, but then you moved into a room for $400 a month.
Yes.
Correct? On what day in July did you start to pay $400 a month?
So, well, it was $200, the verbal agreement with Randy, but at the end, I actually asked for my money back because I just paid him for the beginning month of August, and he was telling me he should be charging $400 instead of $200, but our agreement was $200.
Did he give you any money back for August?
He did not.
Did you pay August's rent?
Yes.
How much did you pay?
$200.
You moved from a loft area to a room.
Yes.
That's why he was increasing your rent to $400. Where are you living now, Mr. Ziegler?
I'm living in Lehigh. I have my own place in an apartment.
And how much was your rent there?
It was $700.
So it was much more money.
Yes.
Stayed by yourself?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson, you have a lot of people living in your house.
Yes.
Clearly. You are responsible for Mr. Ziegler's damage to his motorcycle because it's your car and you allowed somebody who lives with you to drive that car who acknowledges that he forgot that he was told, don't move the truck because my motorcycle is there. He acknowledges it on tape. He acknowledges it, Mr. Simpson, on tape. And it's your car. So you're responsible for the damage. And I believe you're also responsible for his month's rent at this new place. You're living in another place now that you like better?
Yes.
Okay. I'm giving you the $700 that you paid in rent for the month because he should have given you 30 days notice. 4, 3, 8, 1834. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done. Thank you.
Court is adjourned.
I was in a Tahoe, and the motorcycle sits lower than the back window of the Tahoe.
It's crazy. It's nuts.
I honestly didn't see it, and he parked it on the sidewalk.
I'm glad I am out of there.
You know, the more cases we do like this, the more I appreciate your wisdom to always live alone if you can, because problems arise all the time.
Yeah, sometimes it's lonely, but a lot less drama.
Case number 1181, Ortega versus North.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ortega, you and Miss North are neighbors.
Correct.
You live on the same floor.
Correct.
How long have you been living in your apartment?
Since January of 2021.
Where did you live prior to that?
I lived in a neighborhood in West Hollywood with a roommate, not too far off.
For how long?
Maybe a couple months, not a whole lot.
Where were you living before that?
I didn't really have an address.
What does that mean?
I didn't have a home.
So you were homeless?
Yeah.
So you were homeless for a long period of time.
For 2 years.
Then you moved in, you had a roommate for a couple of months. And then you moved in January 2021 to an apartment.
Correct.
Who found you the apartment? Can you look at me? Look
Yes,
my
ma'am.
direction.
It's just something that happened in court, that's all. I can't really talk about that part.
Well, some things become important. Now, who was paying the rent in your apartment?
I was.
From what source of employment?
I got a settlement.
Okay. How long have you been living in your apartment?
17 years.
In the 17 years that you've been living in the apartment complex, have you ever been arrested?
No.
How old are you?
I'm 46.
How many times have you been arrested in your whole life?
In my whole life, one time when I was in college.
For what?
I tried to help break up a fight that my friend was in.
Not since college.
Correct.
Now, Mr. Ortega, it is your claim that the defendant, who's been on your floor for 17 years, is a thief.
Correct.
And you claim two different things. You only have proof of one alleged theft, and that was, I believe, in May.
May 20th of 2021.
Okay, so May of 2021, you're going to show me proof that Miss North stole something from you.
Yeah, I have it right here.
I'd like to see it. What do I do here? Okay, now, clearly that's from your ring thing.
Yes.
And I want to show this, Kevin, to the defendant because I don't know what it shows.
Okay, so that was me leaving my apartment with a bag or a package or something. I didn't realize I ordered so much stuff, but because I'm defending myself, I've found that I've ordered over 100 packages on Amazon and Bloomingdale's. I have to return those things if they don't work out.
No, what I'm asking you is, you say that that's your bag, the white bag.
I'm walking out of my apartment with my own bag.
Okay, so your doors are close, very close together.
I have a photo to show you how close they are. I have to walk by his door.
Before we get to that, all right, let me have that back. Make sure we're looking at the same.
Your Honor, I also have pictures, if you needed, of her taking that stuff in large.
I did not take anything from him, Your Honor.
Okay, listen to me, Mr. Ortega. I want you to tell me exactly what it was that you alleged that she took from your apartment that was in the white bag.
For that date?
No. Look at me.
Yes, ma'am.
What was it in the bag that you allege she took from the front of your apartment?
An order that I had from Macy's. I bought some stuff from Macy's, jewelry mostly.
Just a second.
This is the date and everything that shows that it was delivered, and it was a lot of jewelry, and I never got that back. I even made a complaint with Macy's, and they were kind enough to send some of it back, which was nice, but not all of it.
What do you mean? You made a complaint?
I filed a complaint with Macy's.
That you didn't receive your merchandise?
Yes, that's correct.
And Macy's responded?
Yes, they responded with me having to file a police report, which I
And did you do that?
I did.
No one
I'd
ever
like to see
contacted
it.
me about a police report.
I'd like to see the police report.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I have video evidence. Okay.
That's evidence of me submitting the police remote.
No. You filed this report on March 25th.
That's correct, ma'am.
March, April, May. You just told me that this alleged theft happened May 20th, 2021.
That's correct.
So how do you show me a police report that you filed in March?
Your Honor, I did that because a lot of my packages went missing. A few of them.
I only want to see what you filed after May 20th.
I've called the police and no one showed up because it's not a life-threatening emergency.
We're done with May 20th.
How can that be, ma'am?
We're done with May 20th.
But then
You
I
have
won't
no
get
proof.
justice, and I do
We're
have
done.
proof. There's video footage in that.
I just saw the video.
And then there's the...
I asked you.
There's my Macy's confirmation that it got delivered on that day, ma'am.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And you filed a complaint to Macy's that you never received it, and they resent it.
Yes, they
Yeah,
resent it.
that's
but
a
guess
yes.
What? She took the other packages as well.
Well, I don't know that.
Right,
Show me.
Yeah, yes.
Here's your iPad. Show me she took other packages as well.
Sure.
I didn't take any of his
She just.
Okay.
And I also have
No.
complaints
No.
about doing it to
Show
my
me.
landlord. Yes, ma'am.
Show me.
That's her. And taking
Just don't
more
tell
stuff
me.
in trash bags.
Don't tell me.
She does
Take
that.
my garbage out, Your Honor.
Yeah, that's not just that.
Okay.
There's boxes in that.
Okay.
And there's also a box there.
Mr. Ortega, the other part of your complaint is that your apartment was burglarized.
It was
And it was burglarized on what date?
October 27th, 2021. And she lives right next to me, and she wouldn't even call the police.
I didn't have any
Just a
knowledge
second.
of this.
You were there talking with him.
Just a second.
Okay, it's just ridiculous. I'm sorry. This is silly. I'm a busy lady and it's wasting my time.
October 27th, 2020, your apartment was burglarized.
That's correct.
And you believe that the defendant was somehow responsible.
Yeah.
Just look at me. You
do.
believe that the defendant was somehow responsible.
I do.
What your belief is irrelevant in a court unless you have proof.
I'll show you
that
proof, ma'am.
That the defendant was somehow responsible for the burglary. I'm assuming, for the sake of this question, that your apartment was burglarized.
It was.
Show me the police report.
That's all I got. Because I had called the police when that happened because she wouldn't do it, knowing that
Why-
she's there.
why was I supposed to- I
She's my
didn't-
neighbor. She's so close by. She could have
Oh
done
my
that at
God,
least.
you're ridiculous.
And later today,
It's a word called condonation. It means that if something happens and you had a big fight and then you get together and you snuzzle together and you sort of make up, we don't go back into history. That's not what courts are for.
Gildardo Ortega claims his neighbor, Rachel North, stole multiple packages from his doorstep.
Now, I'm assuming, for the sake of this question, that your apartment was burglarized.
It was.
Good. I'd like to see the police report first. Kevin, you can return this in. It has to do with March, before the last theft.
Yes, ma'am.
Just show me the police report with regard to 10/27/20. Well, this says that somebody has been arrested for the burglary of your apartment. I assume for the burglary of your apartment.
Yes.
And that if the defendant is convicted, you may be entitled to restitution. That's not a police report. Let's understand that. That's just a notice that somebody has been arrested. Mr. Ortega, you had to have filed a police report.
I did.
Show me the police report.
That's all I got. Because I called the police when that happened because she wouldn't do it, knowing that she's there.
Why was I supposed to?
She's my neighbor. She's so close by. She could have
Oh
done
my
that
God,
at least.
you're ridiculous.
Just a second.
It's not. It's a nice thing to do with a neighbor.
You're a scammer.
Mr. Ortega,
Right.
is what you're suggesting, because Miss North is your neighbor, it was her responsibility
It's not.
to call, just a second, to call the police. Is that what makes you think she was involved in this burglary?
No, ma'am, but she also didn't need to be involved in our other neighbor. He obviously goes to her. She's walking by as well. And that's the person.
Can I see?
No. Yes, ma'am.
Can I see what you're talking about?
There you go.
It's a video.
So that's one of our neighbors.
There's an elderly person there in gray hair. That's
Yes.
not her. Your case is dismissed, Mr. Ortega. You have no
ma'am,
case
it's
against Miss
fair.
North.
No.
You do it again. You do it again, she's going to sue you for defamation. Do you understand?
That's not right.
Do you understand? I don't care what you think is right or not.
I lost my
You need proof.
She doesn't like me. She never did like me from my move there because I was homeless. Maybe that's why. And I lived in an upscale neighborhood.
I'm thrilled. I mean, he's ridiculous. He's a scammer, and she saw right through it.
I don't think it's fair.
I've had packages stolen. Everybody's had packages stolen.
I don't even want to live there because it's so horrible to live there.
I'm not a criminal. I'm not a thief.
She's going to be stuck with me, I guess, for a while.
That plaintiff seemed a little off to me in his explanations and even in the suggestive video footage. Something just felt off.
But there was certainly no proof she was involved in any burglary or theft of packages of his.
And it's not a crime to walk in and out of your own apartment.
But he's got it fixed in his mind, and that's frightening to live next to that.
Judge, case number 1051, Martinez versus Violich.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Martinez, you're a co-signer.
Yes, ma'am.
That's always a problem.
Yes, ma'am.
This is your daughter.
Yes.
What college does she go to?
Chapman University,
Where is that?
City of Orange, California.
And where do you live?
I live in Santa Cruz, California.
How far away?
It's about 350 miles north of here.
What year is she in?
She is entering her junior year.
So was it last year that she leased the apartment with some friends?
Yes.
What month was that?
It was October?
September.
Oh, September, sorry.
September of 2020.
Yes.
Why don't you come up and stand with your dad? Tell me your first name.
Haley.
Were you in school virtually most of last year?
Yeah, pretty much all of last year was online.
What month did you leave?
Leave.
School. You were in school in September.
Right. Well, we got sent home in March of 2020, and then I moved back down to Orange, hoping that we'd be in person, but it remained online.
So your lease went from September of 2020 until August 31st of 2021?
June 26th of 2021.
How many roommates did you have, Haley?
I had 3 other roommates. Me and 1 other roommate stayed through the lease, and then 2 of the roommates left.
So you stayed through the lease but went to school virtually?
Right.
And 2 went home?
Yeah, in around January, they went home.
Tell me your first name.
Sophia?
Sophia, you were one of the roommates.
Yes.
When did you leave?
I left around December 20th.
And what was your share of the rent?
It was about $640.
Your share?
Yes.
Must have been a nice place.
Yeah, it was a nice place.
Okay. And how old were you when you moved in?
19, sorry.
And you also signed the lease?
Yes.
After December, did you pay the lease?
Yes, up until January.
January what?
I paid January's rent.
You did pay January's rent. Okay. You didn't pay February, is that correct?
Yes.
March?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
May?
Yes.
And the lease was up in June
The end of June, yes.
or June,
July 1st, yes.
but you didn't pay for those 5 months?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you understood that you signed a lease
Yes.
and that the plaintiff, Mr. Martinez, paid all the rent. Did the other roommates, there were 2 other roommates, did they pay their share of the rent?
One of the other roommates who stayed with Haley for the rest of the remainder of the lease paid on time every month, and the other roommate left with her at the same time.
Did she pay?
No. She stopped paying at the same, she paid through January and stopped paying in February.
Is there any reason why you didn't sue her?
We have a case against her, yes.
You do?
Yes.
Pending?
On Monday, we have our court date, yes.
Great. Okay. Sophia, ball is in your court. You're a grown-up, you're an adult, you signed a lease, he co-signed the lease, he paid the lease in full. I assume you are employed, sir?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I am a union electrician.
He gets paid a salary, didn't want his salary garnished or his credit ruined, so he paid the lease. You have to give me a convincing reason why you're not responsible for the remainder of the lease.
So I have
Don't look over there. Look over here.
So I have an immune disorder, type 1 diabetes, and in October, the other roommate that shared a room with Haley got COVID.
Okay, just 1 second. Did you get COVID?
No.
Who got COVID?
The other roommate.
Okay. And?
And I really did not feel safe being in that apartment. And then also...
Just a second. So you left in October?
End of October, yes.
That's not true.
Oh, shh, don't. You left the end of October, but then you came back.
Yes.
When did you come back?
I left around October 15th, and then I came back for a week, and then I left again in November 4th, and then I didn't come back until Christmas time for a week.
What was all the back and forth?
I didn't feel safe in the apartment also for
Well,
other
then why
reasons.
did you come back at all?
All my things were there.
That takes an hour.
Yeah.
Where did you go when you left?
Back home to Santa Cruz.
Who did you stay with?
My parents.
All the time?
Yes.
So each time you went back, you stayed with your parents?
Yes.
Christmas time, was there school?
Yes.
Virtually?
Yes.
What date did you move out?
I put everything in my car and moved all my things out December 20th, besides the beds that we were going to give to someone if they end up moving in.
Okay, so you moved out. I still haven't heard a reason other than the general, I didn't feel safe.
The other reasons are Haley took part in doing cocaine in the apartment, and I did not feel safe being around illegal drug use, as I don't partake in that things.
Okay, and when do you allege, at least, that Haley used an illegal substance in the house?
Like every weekend.
Every weekend since when?
Since we moved in at September 4th.
Okay, well, you stayed there September, October, November, and December. And if you say that this illegal drug use was going on for 4 months, why didn't you notify her father and say, I'm moving out because there's drug use in the house? Instead, you stayed.
I notified.
I mean, I'm not saying that it's true. I'm not even going into it. I'm just saying, why didn't you just leave? And you did come back Christmas time and stayed for several weeks.
To pack up my things, yes.
It doesn't take several weeks to pack up your things. It takes you and your parents an hour to pack up your things if you're complaining that there's an unsafe condition.
It's just an excuse, Your Honor, for her.
I'm waiting.
Yeah, an excuse. So yeah, I did take that long to get my things. I did bring it upon Heidi Martinez, Michael Martinez's wife, and she told me I was
No, don't tell me what she told you. When did you speak to Mrs. Martinez?
It was back and forth in I'm not sure on the dates, but...
You spoke to her on the phone?
October, the phone and over text message.
I'd like to see the text messages.
No, I got it.
These messages are from January.
I'm sorry, they may be.
Well, the message is from January and or after you moved out. And you spoke to her mother, and hey, Heidi, it would be much appreciated and a big weight off everyone's shoulders if you would give this nice lady and her boyfriend that I've been talking to about me and room. They seem reliable and both have full-time jobs. It's definitely hard times for everyone right now with COVID. So finding a roommate is extra tricky, but this match makes sense. It's irrational to be picky finding a roommate when we have one who can move in now. The bottom line is I cannot live in that apartment due to COVID risks. The drug use in our apartment that I do not feel comfortable being around. The Family Housing Act does protect me from these issues. I wish Haley and you the best, so please let me know you find a solution to the housemate this month. Thank you for the text, but let's be clear about a few things. First, after talking with the girls, they don't feel comfortable with living with a male, especially one that's 5 years older. Well, that's nothing. A male that's 5 years older than you are is probably 10 years your junior. Second, if you want to sling insults about the girls, I'm sure your parents would love to hear all about the Tinder boys and sugar daddies that you brought back to the apartment, or that you and are responsible for all the alcohol in the apartment. Mental health is serious, and Haley has called me almost every day super stressed about the roommate situation since September. One of the roommates getting COVID sucked. Haley had to come home too, but that was in October. If you were so worried, you should have let someone know. This is the first I'm hearing of this. I do agree on one thing. We need to have this resolved ASAP. So this is my question. After reading, I gather that you are claiming or claim to your mother that the defendant brought men back to the apartment.
Yes.
Yes.
How old?
I was not there when it happened. When my other roommate...
Well, then you can't tell me about it.
Can I?
Then you can't tell me about it if you didn't see it or discuss it with her.
She came home because of COVID. She stayed even though the other roommate was positive in COVID. And so her excuse of not wanting to leave because of COVID, she stayed there with the other roommate.
Yeah, well, here's just a second. Alcohol is not illegal. Cocaine is illegal. Do you understand?
Oh, of course.
There were other people in the apartment also using.
That doesn't make it better. Unless what you're telling me, that doesn't make it better, Haley. Unless what you're telling me is that, and I'm not sure I believe that with her condition, that she was using.
No, I was not saying she was.
Okay. That in and of itself would be sufficient basis for her to leave the apartment. You understand that, Mr. Martinez?
Provided it was true, yes.
Your daughter just told me it was true.
No, she never...
Shh. No. Your daughter just told me it was true. Mr. Martinez, your daughter, who was there, just told me it was true. Yeah. She said other people were using too.
Yes,
in the apartment.
I understand that.
But not the defendant. That in and of itself, without anything else, would be reason enough for her to move. Do you understand that? Because if the police raided that apartment, anyone in that apartment would be arrested. Not if they found Jack Daniels or 5 feathers or 3 tails or whatever it is, but they would be arrested for hard drugs. Your wife said Haley is not comfortable living with a male 5 years older. How old are you?
I'm 20.
And what I said to you, a 25-year-old male is like a 14-year-old.
Later.
How did you come into possession of his gun?
I found the gun.
Where did you find it?
Inside the clippings bag of his mother's lawnmower. He was hiding it from me because he knew I wanted it.
Just a second, what were you doing looking at it there?
Michael Martinez and his 20-year-old daughter Haley claim her former roommate, 20-year-old Sophia Violich, broke their lease and owes for unpaid rent.
Okay. The second thing that I don't understand is if she says she's moving, and she says she's moving for a reason that is a legal reason, which is drug use, which your daughter just acknowledged, Mr. Martinez, and she found another roommate to take over their lease, her lease, did you interview those people?
They never...
You're not on the lease. Did you interview those people?
No, she never gave the information to anybody.
Well, No, she gave it to your wife.
Not the contact number.
Just
she
a second.
Said she had
no,
these
no,
people.
no. Listen to me.
I'm listening.
Your wife said Haley is not comfortable living with a male 5 years older than she is. How old are you?
I'm 20.
And what I said to you, a 25-year-old male is like a 14-year-old. So, I mean, I could understand it if she brought in a man who was 65 living with a bunch of young girls and said, this is who I have, and, you know. So he's got a little history, and he had to be relocated from his last site. I could understand that. But this was a couple, a young couple, who they found. It's not that she didn't provide their information. Your wife said, we're not interested in that because Haley isn't comfortable. So for those two reasons, sir, your case is dismissed against her. I would be curious to find out what happens with your case against the other girl. I don't know what the other girl's situation is with regard to the drug use. If she was involved in that, might be different. But that in and of itself is sufficient basis for her to leave. And that's unfortunate. And for that, you should have a discussion with your daughter.
I've already talked to my daughter about everything.
Okay, good. We're done here. Thank you.
Court is adjourned.
She's lying about half the stuff she said.
Haley was using lots of drugs. I didn't feel comfortable being around.
I am a college student, I admit that, but to say I was doing it every single weekend is absurd to me.
Just a bunch of losers, basically.
She's a straight A student in a private college, and she's a great kid.
Will not be sharing a room with strangers.
One thing I am hung up a little on that case is the defendant who claimed that she was nervous about COVID due to an underlying health condition. Why return to a college town when school is not in session in person? The only positive I see of that is a social life. And if you're so cautious and so nervous about catching COVID, I don't see any reason why she even returned to an apartment with friends.
Yeah, it's a solid point. However, what the law says is that if you are providing a situation where someone who is innocent of any wrongdoing, in this situation, drugs it's like having illegal guns in an apartment. Everybody is presumed to be in possession of an illegal drug. So that in and of itself is a reason legally for her to extricate herself from a situation where she could be arrested. And the second thing is, that being the case, you're supposed to try to mitigate damages. They found another couple to take over the room and take over their portion of the rent. The plaintiff wouldn't even interview them. And clearly Haley was comfortable in a situation where she was living in an apartment with illegal drugs, at least to interview a guy who's 25. You may like him. Anyway, legally, she can't be held responsible.
Case number 1012, Norris versus Latham Bowman. Please step forward.
Naomi Norris is suing her ex-boyfriend, Joseph Bowman, and his current girlfriend, Brooke Lathan, for damages to her car.
This used to be your boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
For how long were the two of you involved?
Just under 10 years.
And when did the two of you separate?
Approximately February of this year.
And how long have you been involved with Mr. Bowman?
Since about February this year.
So about the same time? You don't waste any time, sir. Ms. Norris, it is your claim that the defendant, Ms. Latham, damaged your property.
Yes, ma'am.
And that property would be your car.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendants say that nothing could be farther from the truth, that you filed a false restraining order against them, that you've been stalking and harassing them, and that it was actually you who were guilty of vandalizing their property. So tell me, Ms. Norris, on what date did this incident take place?
April 20th of this year.
And I gather that the breakup with Mr. Bowman was an acrimonious one.
To say the least, yeah.
And I assume not primarily of your choosing.
Correct.
Okay. Tell me the time of this incident. The date was the 20th of April.
It was a little after midnight.
Okay. Now, what I gather is, am I correct that he had some sort of a lawsuit that you somehow were involved in?
It's a criminal case.
Who's the defendant in that case?
He is.
And that case has been pending for a while?
Over a year.
So it was pending at the time that you and Miss Norris were together?
Yes.
Okay, you had the necessity to talk to him about this case late at night, and he wasn't sort of responding. You reached out to him somehow? By text, by phone?
Text, emails, phone.
Text, phone, and he wasn't responding.
Right.
And now it's 11 o'clock at night and you tried to text him. You knew he was with this lady, that was clear, and somehow you saw his car.
Right.
So what did you do?
Well, earlier in the day, he knew that I was wanting to speak with him about this.
But he ignored you.
Correct.
Miss Norris, you should have given up the ghost by April.
Well, I ended up being subpoenaed for that case, so it's still I'm kind of stuck with it for a bit.
Well, meanwhile, you saw his car parked in the street. You had tried to get in touch with him that day several times, and he ignored you. And what did you do?
I turned it in, parked behind him, right directly behind his truck. I didn't know whether he was or wasn't in it.
You parked directly behind his truck, and?
And either called or text.
I assume you have the text with you.
My battery, I didn't have a charger with me today, so I don't have that available at the moment.
Well, so far you're not batting 1,000 with me, Miss Norris. Okay, what happened next?
Miss Lathan came out of the house a few doors down, got in her vehicle, and came over to where I was parked. It wasn't exactly a hit, but her vehicle touched the side of my vehicle. She got out, jumped on my hood, and dented it and smashed the windshield.
You remember that evening?
I wasn't even in Chico when this supposedly happened.
Where were you?
I was at my dad's cabin in Lake Elminor.
Where was he?
He was in Chico.
Was he staying at your house?
No, but he came by to grab some stuff of mine because I stay with him at his mom's house in Chico.
Did the police ever question you about this incident?
No.
Did you report it to the police?
Yes, ma'am.
On what date?
On the 20th.
I'd like to see the police report. Did you call the police while she was jumping on the hood of your car?
No, I did not. It was directly afterwards.
It was directly afterwards?
Yes.
I'm just noting in the police report, it says, can hear a female yelling at someone, but it couldn't have been her because you didn't have your phone on at the time. So I'm just trying to figure out who that is.
That's me yelling at Mr. Bowman.
So you're yelling at Mr. Bowman?
Yes. He prevented me from...
Did you move his car at any time after February 2021?
Yes.
What did you do that for?
Because it was sitting in the middle of the parking lot. It was not in a parking space.
Well, what were you doing touching his car after you broke up?
Naomi Norris says defendants Joseph Bowman and Brooke Lathan are responsible for damaging her vehicle. They are countersuing Naomi for property damage and harassment.
Okay. Do you have photographs of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them.
These are my photos at that night, and this is the insurance adjusters.
How did she break the windshield of your car?
With her hands.
Do you have an estimate for the damage to the car? You had insurance? You had a deductible?
Yes, and that is...
I have a $2,500 deductible. Yes. I got it. Did you see her that evening?
No.
No. This is all sort of a figment of her imagination. The truth of the matter is, nobody purposely breaks their windshield of their car, because that puts it out of commission. You have a counterclaim. Miss Norris, were you arrested for possession of Mr. Bowman's gun?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you come into possession of his gun?
In referencing the case, he has a restraining order, no contact order from that case, which means that he's not allowed to have the gun. I found the gun.
Where did you find it?
Inside the clippings bag of his mother's lawnmower.
Just a second, what were you doing looking at it there?
I was looking for it because he has been ordered to return, or to...
You went to his mother's house?
Well, yes, I was there all the time. Like, I was still involved with him being over there.
In what month did you find the gun? What month?
In April.
Well, you had broken up with him.
Yes, but...
So what were you doing in his mother's house?
She was still allowing me and my kids to come by.
That's ridiculous. And to go through the lawn clipping bag? Did you move his car at any time after February 2021?
Yes.
Where did you move it from?
The middle of the parking lot at a Walgreens. It was not in a parking space. It was in the parking lot.
And where did you move his car to?
Our storage unit.
What did you do that for?
Because it was sitting in the middle of the parking lot. It was not in a parking space.
Just a second. Is that his car?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what were you doing touching his car after you broke up?
I had told him and informed him that earlier that day that I moved his vehicle because it was in the middle of the parking lot.
Yeah, you have to stay away from him.
Well, that's happened since then, yes.
Yeah. You have to stay away from him. Did you file a restraining order against him?
Not against him, no.
Against whom?
Miss Lathan.
Was it dismissed?
Yes, it was.
Did you have a trial?
We did have a court date. I was late.
So the answer is you filed for a restraining order and didn't show up. So it was dismissed for your non-appearance. Did you, in fact, take control of his password and lock him out of his email accounts at any time?
It was the business account that my name is attached to.
In what month did you lock him out of the business account?
It was the end of February.
Did you advise him that you were locking him out?
Yes. And then within a week, he had all the information to get back into that account.
Okay.
Can I say something real quick, too, about all the other things that we've been talking about? You asked, like, why would someone break their own windshield? Why would someone steal someone's truck, have it towed to a storage unit, change the lock so he can't get to it, ride all over the truck, pee in his truck?
Just a second. Did that happen?
No.
Miss Norris?
No.
It did not?
No, it did not.
Did you, in fact, urinate in his truck?
No, I did
at the time?
not.
Okay. Do you have any proof of that?
Yes, we do.
I'd like to see it.
Here's a receipt for my new seats.
Okay. So you replaced the seats? Yeah. Miss Norris, you got to get over it.
Oh, I am.
Do you understand?
Oh, I am.
You got to get over it. Have you had any difficulty with her since?
No, Your Honor.
Miss Norris, I'm dismissing your claim on the car. And
I actually have physical proof of her. Yeah, those are her shoe prints on there.
I don't think so, because I'm taking your own words. You, after the breakup, after he and Miss Latham were involved, moved his truck without his permission and without notifying him at all, and if you did it all, until later.
I did not.
Number one. Number two, you did purposefully. You locked him out of his own business without forewarning him. I'm using your words.
Yes, I also
Now I'm
it's a
taking
partnership.
their word for the fact that when you, in fact, moved his truck from one place to another, you urinated on the seats of that car. I'm taking their word for that.
No, I
you
did not.
moved his truck to harass him.
harassing
You
him.
cut him out of his own email business account to harass him. According to you, you serendipitously wanted to speak to him. He tried to ignore you. You went purposefully to find his car 11, 12 o'clock at night. Miss Norris, what I'm saying to you is, I think that you took the breakup very hard, understandably, it was 10 years, but your behavior from your own mouth suggests to me that they wanted to be left alone, and you couldn't leave them alone. So I'm awarding them $2,500 on their account to suit. Your petition is dismissed. Thank you, Cole. We're done.
Okay, Your Honor.
Court adjourned.
I was being accused of things I didn't do, and I'm glad she saw the truth.
I did not press criminal charges.
All the drama stops.
Him not responding or acknowledging those text messages is not my problem.
I'm just hoping that she calms down now and realizes, like, stuff's done and she needs to move on.
I have found peace and move on, and I will probably pursue the rest of my legal bounds with this.
Sometimes after a few of these cases, I'm just at a loss for words.
Well, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
That's true.
And sometimes women, in my experience more often than men, the ones that I've seen, take these breakups really hard. I mean, she had a 10-year investment in this guy, and then he meets somebody else. Clearly, she wasn't ready to let it go without at least leaving her imprint on their behinds. Sad. It's sad. If it's over, it's over. Just have to accept it. Women have to stay smart.
True.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Thank you, Kevin. Mr. Jones, the case is relatively simple. You claim that you made a loan to Miss Walden,
Yes.
somebody that you met, according to you, on a dating app,
Yes, ma'am.
and she didn't pay you back.
No, ma'am.
That's what the case is about. I have a few questions for you. What kind of work do you do?
Graphic design company.
Where is it located?
My business is located in Florida and Georgia.
Does it have a business address in Florida? Or is that your home address?
Yes, the home address.
So you have a business in Florida that you work out of your home.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have the same business in Georgia where you work out of your home.
Yes, ma'am.
How many employees do you have in Florida? It's not an answer. How many employees do you have in Florida?
Two.
Who? You and who else?
You and my mom is...
You and your mother?
Yeah, she helps me.
So the two employees that you have in Florida are you and your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many employees do you have in Georgia?
Just me.
And what do you do for a living?
I work at a call center, working from home.
How long have you been working for this company?
For over a year, and I recently just switched to part-time.
In December of 2020, were you working for the same company?
Yes.
Full-time or part-time?
Full-time, but I'm no longer working with them anymore.
Well, you said you were working with them for a year.
Yeah.
When did you stop working for them?
I stopped working with them after we had the PTO dispute. I didn't get my PTO approved when I went to Miami for my surgery.
Let's not use letters. PTO is what?
For a paid time off.
So you were working for them for a year. This is what this is about. You met on a dating app. You mentioned to her, according to your complaint, that you were going to Miami on a vacation.
Well, yeah, it came about, but I didn't just come out and mention it. As we was dating, she was like, she had a secret for me that she had something that she was going through, and then it all led to us being in Miami. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just reading from your complaint, sir. Your complaint says, I met Eve after a couple of weeks of dating. I mentioned to Eva that I had planned a trip to Miami for my birthday.
Absolutely.
Eva was getting a tummy tuck surgery in Miami that same week, so I volunteered to help take care of her.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
Great. And you did go to Miami and you did have this tummy tuck surgery.
Yeah.
I gather from what you just told me that you had put into a job that you had had for about a year, paid time off.
Yes.
And you asked for paid time off because you were having this elective surgery.
Yes, 2 months before.
You put in for this time off in October or November, for this time off because you were going for this elective surgery.
Yes.
During COVID.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And you were going there to celebrate your birthday.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So far, we're terrific. So your boss turned down paying you for paid time off when you were going for your surgery.
Yes.
Yes. That's what you said.
Yes.
So the two of you discussed that you weren't going to have money for some bills, that you had your rent, et cetera. That is according to your complaint. And according to what I read here from you, the defendant said that once she was turned down for the paid time off, she was going to apply for disability and unemployment.
Yeah, that was...
That's what you wrote.
Yeah.
Is that what she told you?
Yes.
Okay. And the nature of her disability was what?
I don't
Okay,
know.
no, you don't know. What was the nature of the disability?
Because I was recovering. So when I spoke with my boss 2 months prior, she had told me
You can't tell me what your boss told you.
Okay, well...
You can't tell me what your boss told you.
Well, verbally, she had approved the PTO, so I never looked for it again.
That's also telling me what she told you. You're not following me.
Okay.
Okay.
So when I got back from the surgery, when I got my direct deposit, my PTO wasn't in there. So it was an issue.
Your pay wasn't in there because you went for voluntary surgery for a tummy tuck in Miami.
Yeah, but I had PTO that I had saved up, like hours to use.
So you had saved up those hours?
Yeah.
Okay, so they were hours you worked that you hadn't used?
Yes.
So far, so good. So far, I'm with you. Did you sue your boss for not paying you for those hours?
I didn't sue them. I took it up to corporate, and they told me that they couldn't do anything about it. That's when I decided to leave the company. So at that time, I was stressed out because I couldn't pay my rent.
Just a second. So you quit?
Yes.
And you couldn't pay your rent. That's what this lawsuit is about, because you paid her rent, $928?
Yes.
$920.
$920.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what the law is. It used to be if you quit your job, you didn't get unemployment, but that's not true anymore, right?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes, but I didn't get approved for the unemployment.
You didn't?
No.
So you didn't get any money?
No, that's when he
Just a second. And you still haven't received any money from unemployment?
No.
You don't get any now?
No.
And you're working part-time now?
Yes, and I also am a musician, so I do that as well.
Okay. And you gave her the $920
Well,
to pay her rent?
Absolutely, not right off
Just
bat.
I don't care right off the bat. This is not an audition. You gave her the $920.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. And the $920, according to her, you gave her from a small business administration loan that you had gotten from the government as a result of COVID.
Yes. What?
Yes.
Well,
that would be a yes. That's what she says.
Absolutely, but there's more details, you know. That
Well,
go
there's no
apart
more
of it.
details. I just asked you about your employees, and you said your employees are you.
And my mom.
And your mom.
Yeah.
But she doesn't work with you in Georgia. That
No,
you work
not
there
all-
by
yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure
she
it all out.
sees
I'm
I'm
just
an
a-
entrepreneur.
I'm
She's
just
just trying to help me flourish.
Yeah, she tries
She
to help
helps
you
me out.
flourish.
Yeah, she
she
picks
tries
up
to help
flyers
you
for me,
flourish,
things of
and
that
so does the government try to help you flourish. So did you get? I just want to absorb it all. So you applied for a small business loan that was designed for people who had real businesses with real employees. Just a second. With real employees who rely on that money so that you could pay your employees during COVID. That's what that was about. Am I not correct?
That's exactly what I did.
That you paid yourself.
And my mom.
You paid, just a second. You paid yourself.
Yeah.
So you did apply for the loan.
Absolutely.
Okay. And when did it come through?
It was probably like July.
July of 2020.
Keep in mind,
just
Your Honor-
no, I don't have to keep anything in mind.
Well-
You just to keep in mind answering my questions.
Daquan Jones says former girlfriend Eva Walden refuses to pay back a loan and the cost of food from her football party.
Okay. You had to pay yourself.
Absolutely.
Well, there's a difference between unemployment and getting a small business loan. So what I want to know is...
Well, it wasn't
Shut
a loan.
up!
It wasn't a loan.
Wasn't a loan.
It wasn't a loan. It was they called it a grant.
Okay, now, when you do a grant, you have to apply for the grant, right? They don't just come to your door, knock at your door and say, hey, you want a grant? You have to apply for it. I know.
No,
that
I
that's
know you
the
know.
process.
I know you know. That would be nice if they
that's
did.
That's the
but
process.
yeah.
So you did apply for the loan.
Absolutely.
Okay. And when did you apply for the loan?
Right when COVID shut me down. I'm a graphic designer, entertainment business, so I'm just trying to gauge.
So you applied for it when?
March.
Okay. And when did it come through?
Took a while. A lot of oodles and noodles.
Just a second. Give me a month.
When it hit, I do remember this because I was happy. It was probably like July of last year.
July of 2020.
Keep in mind, Your Honor.
No, I don't have to keep anything in mind.
Well-
You just keep in mind answering my questions. In July, it came through.
Yes, ma'am.
Between March and July,
Yes, ma'am.
how did you support yourself?
Actually, I got some cool family members that contribute. Gave
Just a
me-
second. So you relied on the kindness of friends.
Absolutely. No,
Isn't that
family,
what-
not friends. Family.
It's a family.
Family.
From the kindness of family.
Yes, ma'am.
Blanche Dubois rely on the kindness of friends.
Hey, that's.
And how much did our wonderful government send you in July of 2020? Amount, that's a number.
It
Is not
was
an
under
answer.
5,000.
What?
Under 5,000.
How much did they send you?
I don't want to lie to you. I don't know the exact number off back, so that would be unfair if I said that. It's just under 5,000, to be honest.
Did they send you a second payment after
No,
July
I didn't want a
of
second
20?
payment because I didn't need it.
Just a second. So you got the payment in July of 2020, and in December of 2020 is when you paid for her rent? Or was that in January of 2020?
That was January. No, beginning of February, February 1st.
February 1st. And he offered.
2-1.
2-1.
And then you stopped dating.
Yeah.
And at some point, Miss Walden,
Yes.
you say, after the relationship was over, he started to press you for this $920.
Yes, after.
After.
After. And
It was-
during, I had just told him the situation that I was in. I didn't get my PTO.
Oh, no, listen, we're past
but
that
he
already.
offered-
I'm already through the entire alphabet of government spending. I'm already through the whole thing. Your answer says that he came after you because he now has a new girlfriend. Or you have a new boyfriend.
Yeah, we just different ways.
And
I'm still single,
And he said to you he was worried that the government would come after him for the return. Don't speak. For the return, that's what you say in your answer.
Yeah.
For the return of this money, because it wasn't used for the purpose that this was supposed to be used for, which was to pay your employees, like your strangers, like the people that run the cameras, right? And Kevin, right? Whitney,
Absolutely.
and Sarah,
Absolutely.
who were employees, and you were paying yourself and your mom. So you say he was worried that he wasn't gonna. That's what you say in your answer, correct?
Yes, that's what he told me on the phone.
That's what he told you. Tell me exactly what he told you.
So he asked me when could he get the money back. He said that he had took out a loan and that he needed to pay it back. So he needed the money that he gave me at the beginning of February for my rent. He needed it back. But it wasn't until after we went our separate ways that all of a sudden it wasn't a gift.
Now, just a second. He said he had to pay it back, or he was afraid he'd have to pay it back?
Yes, that he was afraid that he had to pay it back. He was basically, just trying to get me to give him the money back that he offered.
Just a second. Well, let me ask you a question. Are you back to work?
I do part-time nanny work while I work on my music.
Who supports you?
Me and my manager.
You and your manager support you?
You date your manager?
Just a second.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that is right. You have to tell me, Mr. Jones, now I've got everybody. I've got everybody's story in my head. Tell me how she asked you, or how it came about that she told you that she would give you back the money, the $920 for rent. Tell me how that came about.
Okay, first I need to address.
No, first address my question.
This is in your question.
No.
I wasn't afraid because I did.
No. First address my question.
Okay.
I would be afraid if I were you.
Can you repeat that question for me, please?
I want you to tell me how it came about that you made this loan to her for her rent of $920.
Okay, after...
in Miami.
Yeah, after all that with the surgery, and I didn't know what PTO was, okay? I work for myself. I got
Just a second.
No more alphabets, I get it. But, so that's what she told me when I researched it, and I found out what it was, and I felt like that was unfair. I think anybody in here would think that was unfair, if that's what they was told. I was like, look, I'd be more than willing to help you, but I need this back. It's just been COVID. As you know, I gotta pay my mom.
He never said that.
She don't get a lot of money, but she gets enough.
I don't know that at all, sir. I don't know that at all. Your mom's there right behind you, pushing you all the time. That's not an employee. Okay, let's keep moving on.
So she expressed to me the concern, but I felt bad for her.
Good, that's what I thought.
And I just said, as long as you're gonna pay it back, we good. Okay. And I didn't even ask for it right back. I said, once you start working, you pay it back.
So this was in February?
February.
This was in February. Now, in February, were you and the defendant sort of having an intimate relationship?
Before February.
Before February?
Yeah.
Yes, from December to February.
Yeah.
What happened after February?
She would only know. You get some money, you become a track star. I don't know.
I don't know. She stopped. She stopped communicating with you.
It got a little different, but I figured, like, me being the kind person I am,
No. It got a little different.
It got a little different. Her body's different right now. A whole lot of stuff gonna be different. So I was like, okay. It was cool till I was, she had a Super Bowl party. You can come get your bread, which is the money. I came. I brought some other things because she wanted chicken wings, and I was like, okay, cool. You're gonna hit me back. When I got there was no money, so I decided, hey, I gotta do what I gotta do because I need that money back.
Your Honor, he came to the party and called ahead of time and said, would you like me to stop at the store to get anything? He knows everybody contributed
Miss
to the party.
Miss Walden, I'm not even addressing the fact that he picked up fancy cupcakes and chicken wings. I didn't go to school for 10 years for that. I'm just addressing this $920. You wouldn't touch this dog. Why?
I don't deal with the dog at all.
Well, who does?
My children.
How would it be if instead of getting this puppy, I paid you for this puppy?
Daquan Jones says former girlfriend Eva Walden refuses to pay back a loan and the cost of food from her football party.
Okay, do you have anything to show me with regard to his statement that he said, listen, I'm cool with that, I can give you the money now, but you have to pay it back?
He just started harassing me, saying I probably didn't use the money for the rent. So this is my lease. I just wanted to show proof.
Oh.
Just so you know.
Who do you live with now?
My mom. My mom's my landlord.
Okay, great. And what kind of a house does she have, or do you rent a room from her?
Yeah, we're in an apartment.
Did you rent a room in your mother's apartment in February?
Yes.
So the rent that he allegedly paid for you was to your mother?
Yeah.
Does your mother live in that apartment too?
Yes.
Your case is dismissed. Both of you, get out of here.
Court adjourned.
I don't win nothing. I loaned some money, I wanted it back.
He's just being petty because we don't talk anymore, and now he wants his money back, which he offered as a gift.
She looked at me with some batted eyes, looked into my heart, and clearly said, will you please help me?
It is what it is.
No more bucks for tucks.
Definitely a lesson learned.
Case number 1032, Bradley versus Kimball. Please come forward.
Tia Bradley is suing dog breeder Rico Kimball for half the value of a puppy litter.
Miss Bradley, you have a male Shih Tzu.
I do.
And that's your little boy.
Yes.
What's his name and how old is he?
King, he's 2 years old.
And Mr. Kimball, you have a female Shih Tzu.
Yes, ma'am.
How old is she?
She's 2 years old also.
So you all thought it would be a good idea to mate your two dogs.
Yes.
Your female with King. King and Sparkle should have a family together. And according to you, Miss Bradley, you made arrangements with the defendant that you would split any litter that you had. That was a verbal agreement.
Yes.
Mr. Kimball, Sparkles had 5 puppies
Correct.
as a result of this mating.
Correct.
Miss Bradley, your lawsuit is for the value of half of that litter because you intend to sell them. Am I correct?
That is correct.
You don't plan on keeping the dogs. You plan on selling them. So you're looking for the value.
I was keeping one puppy.
You were keeping one for yourself?
Yes.
And have no intention of selling that puppy?
No, no.
Okay. And this is the one that you originally picked as pick of litter?
Right.
Can I take possession of that puppy for a minute? I need it. I haven't seen mine in a couple of weeks. Oh, you're holding a puppy like it's something that you don't do naturally. That is a very, very sweet puppy.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is your pick of litter, and you intend to keep her.
Right.
You intend to take good care of her.
Yes.
Okay. Let me tell you this. Mr. Kimball says that your arrangement was that you got pick of the litter, which is the routine, normal exchange for stud fee. I mean, your dog is not a champion dog. I assume your dog's not a champion dog. Am I correct?
Yeah, you're correct.
So yours is a pet.
Right.
And you're amateur at this breeding process, so there's no lineage that you're trying to protect. So the usual arrangement is pick of litter, not half the litter. That's why the person who goes through the time and the trouble and the feeding and the cleaning up and the care for it, they keep, if there are only 2 puppies, they keep one and you keep one. In this case, there were more than 2 or 3 and they all survived?
Yes, ma'am.
That means that you were, good parents. Okay. I'm almost afraid to give you back this puppy, to give to her. This is the puppy that you bring to her.
Yes,
this
ma'am.
was her puppy. This was her pick of litter.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, good. Can you deal with this, Kevin?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, good. She is very cute.
Thank you.
Yes, you are, and very photogenic and very good and very quiet.
Right hand, left hand.
Right to her.
Give it to him. King's daughter.
No, why don't you take her? Why?
I don't deal with dogs.
You don't deal with dogs?
The dogs is for my kids.
You okay?
Just bring her back. Bring her
She's
back.
peeing.
She's probably scared.
Oh, that's why you're holding her so far away.
You got it, Judge?
She's never done that before. She's probably scared or something.
She is scared. Okay. You wouldn't touch this dog. Why?
I don't deal with the dogs at all.
Well, who does?
My children.
How old are your children?
Well, he's 21. I have a 14 and a 16-year-old.
But you have nothing to do with the dog?
No.
So you plan on giving the dog to him?
That is their dog.
What do you mean it's their dog?
That's their dog. King is their dog.
Okay. Fine. How would it be if instead of getting this puppy, I paid you for this puppy? And they could buy whatever dog they liked.
They like the Shih Tzu. That's why I had
No,
to get
then they could buy a Shih Tzu and they wouldn't have to take this one home. How would that be? Would you do that?
I wouldn't have a problem with that.
So you wouldn't have a problem if, since your mom's not going to have anything to do with this dog and doesn't even want to touch it, you wouldn't have a problem if you got the money for the dog and then you decided what you wanted to buy.
Yeah, we can do that.
He says that's fine. How much did you sell the other puppies for?
$300.
How much were you intending to sell the puppy?
$1,000.
Well, how about we give you $1,000 and you can let your kids decide? Would you be prepared, instead of taking the dog? Looks like he's got his hands full with one dog. Do you understand?
I get it, but we can handle 2 dogs. It's not a problem. That's not a problem. Because that would be the only dog we have. We didn't get the other dog.
So you want a dog from your
puppies
that he wants.
Right.
Okay. All right. Then give that dog to your mother.
I can sit him down, watch it on the week.
That's fine.
Sit him down.
And you can step up here.
King, sit.
And take this one. Perfect.
I got her.
Got her?
Yes.
Okay.
He's scared. She's scared.
King. Okay.
Chill.
Calm down.
Thank you.
Calm down. Uh-oh. No.
Oh, they're going to get along famously.
That's your dad. You doing that too?
I ain't never seen that.
No, he's good with her. You're good with her.
Thanks.
But not crazy about his father.
Calm down. It's okay.
Okay, satisfied?
Yes, ma'am.
Got your puppy?
Yes.
Good, very good. We're done. Thank you.
Court adjourned.
I'm okay with her decision of giving us the 1 dog.
I thought it was a great decision. That was the plan all along, is to give her a puppy.
He's not a man of his word, and he needed the money more than me.
Once the puppies came, her story changed. So I was sticking with the original story.
My dog would be happy that he has his daughter.
I'm happy with it.
It seemed like the whole thing could have been avoided had they just had something in writing when they decided to breed their dogs together.
That's the takeaway. If you're dealing with somebody, whether family or not, and you have something of value that you're exchanging, put the terms in a written contract. It allows everybody to know where they're at. And I think that puppy, who probably was very frightened, had a little stage fright, will get to love him because he looked as if he really was a sweet, soft guy. Anyway, all worked out pretty okay.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.